First of all, thank you. I am Rubye Kendrick. I am the current president of the Tyler Smith County League of Women Voters. And as I mentioned in my email, we've actually been doing this Coffee With series now for a while. It started out with the Tyler City Council, and we've done the council. We've actually now are into our constable position. So we're just excited that you agreed to join us. This is, again, just really, we'll call it informal in a certain respect. Our goal is to, this falls into our mission of voter education. And when we first started, we thought that these interviews would be a great way to just inform the public about the roles of the various positions and what you do. Get a chance to see these are posted on our Facebook page, and just informative because a lot of people really don't know the details of the roles of our elected officials. So this is certainly an opportunity to share that information. And so I have three of our board members here. I'll let them introduce themselves to you, and then we'll get started with the questions. Dee, you want to start off?
Good afternoon. I am Dee Pendleton. I'm a new board member, but I've been doing the Coffee With series for the better part of a year, I guess now, because we did the council and then we also did the school board trustees and now the constable. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, you bet.
Good afternoon. My name is LaRhonda Hamilton, and I think I've been doing the Coffee With for the last 2 years, I believe. And I am the Vice President of Community Relations.
Allison?
There we go. Colin, and I also am a new member and also have trouble, like they were saying, with the unmute button. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you taking time to talk with us today.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, as you can see, this is not one of those surprise interview questions kind of thing. We have always shared the questions with everyone so that you have ample time to prepare and not feeling, some kind of way about maybe not knowing what's going to be asked. So I get the pleasure of asking you the first question, and that is, what do you think is the most important job duty of the office of constable?
The most important is just, of course, we're a civil division basically, but maintaining security of the courts, the JP courts, and interacting with the public and helping them as much as we can. We can't give everybody legal advice, but we can try to direct them to the right people to help them.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And your precinct, how large is your precinct? That approximately?
That's a great question. I couldn't tell you how large it is. It's geographically, we're not the biggest. The northern part of Smith County, like precinct 5 and 4, they have the more land graph. We have the biggest population of people in the south between us and precinct 2. We don't have the land mass the northern counties have, northern part of the county.
So lots of families. Okay.
Yes, we do. Our civil paperwork is about 3 times more than what the northern half of the county is.
Wow.
So like precinct 4 may serve 350 papers a year. We serve about 1,200 papers.
Ooh.
So.
Okay.
But in the south, there's a lot more rental properties. So that keeps us more active than the northern part of the county. So.
Good information. Thank you. That was not a question that was on the paper. I'm sorry, but thank you for sharing that.
Okay, so the next question is, how did your background prepare you for this position?
Well, early on, most of my career has been in the constable's office. And briefly, I spent 2 years in Bullard working for the city. but most of my law enforcement has been with the constable's office. So, and I enjoy the civil side of it because it gives us an opportunity to do civil, but we can also do criminal also.
Right.
Because in Texas, we're still certified peace officers. We have the same authority that any municipality has, you know, as far as working traffic or accidents, doing criminal investigations, we can do all of that. We just don't have the manpower or the budget that the sheriff's department has. So,
Absolutely. Okay, so my question are, what are the key issues facing the precinct that you serve?
Well, I mean, the key issue is housing. I mean, we can't do much about it, but housing is a big issue. You know, rent escalation, everything has went way up, but we don't get to dictate what, you know, renters have to pay for that. But, you know, living arrangements, stuff like that, child support. We do a lot of child support service too. So affordability is probably going to be the biggest challenge with our civil process, basically, because our, you know, eviction process is, we're on pace to probably do 750, 800 this year. We still got another month and we're right at 700. So evictions alone, just evictions. So, you know, that's our biggest part, is the evictions, what we do. And then there's also small claims, where small claim suits processed through the office, and then child support, and then out of county processes come also. But the biggest thing we do is probably the evictions. So,
I bet that's extremely difficult, especially this time of year or when you go into the holiday season. But I mean, it happens, but
it does. It stinks. It really does. But it's the process. And before it gets to us, it's not like we just go out and just have somebody leave immediately. It's already worked up probably 4 to 6 weeks before it gets to us, before it gets to that final judgment. But it still is difficult. But
so people are definitely given about what, a 30-day notice, 60-day notice? They're aware, right?
But it depends. COVID's over now. During the COVID, they had to have a 30 to 45-day notice. Now COVID's over. There's back to the standard 3-day notice from the management company before they can file the actual eviction process. So in most of the apartments we deal with, the tenants know prior 2 to 3-day notice. It's not like most of these apartments don't just walk up to them and say, hey, you got to go. They've tried to work with them, and we understand, and they understand people get in a bind occasionally financially. It happens. You know, when I was young, it happened to me too. So I understand. But before they can file the eviction, they have to give them the 3-day notice, and most people try to make good on it. And then they file the paperwork, and then we serve it. And usually, depending on what the judge's court docket is, it could be anywhere from 12 to 16 days before it goes to court. And then the judge hears the case and makes his judgment. And then the defendant gets another 5 days on top of that to move out, to vacate the premises. And of course, if they don't, then the landlord has to come get a writ of possession order. And that's when they gives us the authority to go in and remove that person from that property then. But it's a lengthy process. It don't just happen overnight.
Okay. So there's a little time in there. People just aren't immediately removed.
Exactly. And due to COVID, they can still appeal. If they're not happy with the judge's decision, they can appeal that to the county court also, which gives them more time to make a decision. Then the county court will decide the final outcome of that.
So, do you see that happening a lot, that piece, as far as them people filing?
During COVID, it happened frequently, but not
Okay.
as much now that the COVID pandemic is officially over.
Okay.
But we do still see occasional people want to file to the higher court, in which that does give them a month, probably 6 weeks before the county court can hear that case.
Mm,
So,
wow.
so that's another option they have, is to go file it, appeal it to the
Thank you.
county courts.
Okay. And quick point of clarity, just for anyone out there on watching, who's gonna watch this on Facebook. COVID is not over. I think what you were mentioning is, I'm working in healthcare, so I feel like I must say COVID is not over. It is still spreading in our community. But I think what you're talking about is the things that were in place that allowed people.
Yeah, the COVID pandemic, I should say then, but it's going to be with us the rest of our lifetime. It ain't going away.
But
We got to manage it. So.
Yes, but some things were in place that allowed some leniency as far as the evictions and whatnot, but that is over now. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
We're back to business.
that would be more correct, I guess.
Okay. Well, talk to us a little bit about what, if evictions are a big thing. You also mentioned child support. So what are some of the issues, and how are you tackling those issues? How is your office helping to tackle some of those issues that you see as the top priority?
Well, in our office, it's hard to, I mean, we can't help everybody, but if they need help, we can give them advice, or we have a list of numbers that they can call for legal help here in Smith County. And our PATH, we direct them to PATH a lot. During the COVID, we referred a lot of people to PATH because they were handing out the monies that were given through Smith County to help during the pandemic era. Child support, of course, that's issued by the Attorney General. They send us the papers, we go serve them, and just advise them, to do the right thing. There's a court date on here. You need to take care of your responsibility. The AG's office, we don't pick up too many warrants. They don't issue a lot of child support warrants anymore. We used to do a lot of those for the Attorney General's office, but they've kind of slacked up on that. They're giving most everybody an opportunity to, show up in court and plead your case. We just try to direct them to the right courts.
So it sounds like your office can provide resources, correct?
We do as much as we can. We're not the judge, so we can't do everything, but we try to direct them and encourage them to make the phone call. We can't make it for you, but we can provide you the information to help you make that call. So.
I think it's good to hear, and again, not having a lot of exposure, but it really is good to hear that there is a different approach for the child support issue.
Yeah,
because it give people an opportunity to plead their case instead of the warrant for the arrest.
It's like everything. You gotta go talk to somebody. If you just put it on the back burner, eventually they're going to say there's no more talking. They're just going to go get you. But if you go make that phone call or drive to the courthouse, judges don't want to put people in jail. If you're in jail, you can't pay your child support anyway. They just want you to make some kind of offering to do the right thing. Get a plan, like a financial plan. That's basically what the AG is trying to get you to do. They work with you. They don't want to put you in jail, but they want you to take care of your responsibility also. So we encourage them to call this number. It's on there, the court, the date and everything. And we'll kind of highlight that, make sure that don't overlook it. Just don't set it down and forget about it. Just take care of it.
Okay. You think you see people responding and doing that more than, in the past? Because I'm assuming if they don't do it, then you'll be back trying to find them again, maybe.
We tell them that if we have to come back, if the AG sends us back for you not answering this, then we're going to give you, we're going to provide you a transportation to the jail. But this is your notice to do the right thing. There's always going to be a certain amount of people that don't want to do the right thing, but there's a lot of them that do want to do it, but they get in a financial bind and they don't do it. But there's a certain percentage of people that never are going to do the right thing out there. We deal with the same people a lot. Their names come through here all the time. So, but the vast majority do want to do the right thing. They just kind of like rent. They sometimes get in a financial bind and get behind on it. So,
right. Okay. Thank you. Well, did you have anything else, Allison, specifically? Okay, then last question. So, been a lot of, stuff in the news. So given the news stories in the past year about the Smith County Constables, how are you working to ensure the integrity and professionalism of the office is maintained? How are you doing that or working to facilitate that?
Well, the biggest thing is on our interactions, whether it be traffic enforcement or we assist the county a lot, or White House or troop ARP in family violence, we wear body cameras. Our policy is we have body cameras activated. Our vehicles have car cameras. All of that is activated. So when we interact, everything's recorded, and that protects us. It protects the individuals also. So back in the old days, nobody was able to, I don't know what the word I want to use, check each other. But with audio visual recordings, everything is recorded and it stays on the county server, depending on what the violation is. If it's traffic, we keep them for 90 days. If it's just a traffic incident, if it's a criminal investigation, we keep them for 6 months before we delete that stuff. Or it's adjudicated. Let's say we make an arrest for drug possession. That stays on the county servers until that case is adjudicated or disposed of.
Okay.
It doesn't go away. And so, I think the audio visual is a huge way to keep the integrity. It keeps everybody on the level playing field that way.
Maybe I've been watching too much TV, but are there times that, officers everybody's supposed to keep those cameras on at all times, right?
Well, not really, because the camera will fill up. If you're not interacting with the public, it doesn't run all day. So if I'm sitting in my office, the camera's not activated. But they're timed. If we activate our emergency lights on the vehicle, the cameras automatically kick on. So we don't forget to turn them on. And there are instances we do forget to initiate the camera, but it's very few and far between. We've been doing it so long now. Since I've taken office, we've had body cameras, and that's 10 years now.
Oh, okay.
In the county, recently in the last probably 4 years, have standardized all the body cameras. So every agency uses WatchGuard camera systems in the vehicles and on your person.
Okay.
When I first started,
there used to be different brands or whatever.
Each office used to decide if they wanted body cameras and what model they wanted to have when I first took office. That's many years ago now. But throughout time, the county their IT department has said, hey, why don't we just maintain the video camera system, which is great. Takes a huge headache from us. And the county has purchased WatchGuard camera systems for every department.
Okay.
So we do keep that video evidence right here on the server. So if somebody has an issue and says we did something wrong, we have the complaint filing system. They can come down here and file a formal complaint, and they have access to the entire incident. So if an attorney wants to look at it, all they got to do is request it, and we'll give them a copy of it. It's public information. So that, I think that's a huge way to protect the integrity of the office, is just allowing people to look into what we do.
True. Okay. Great. Anything else, ladies, that tied into any of the questions that we've already asked that have come to mind? Great information for me in respect to just the processes, and you know, what the procedures are for various things. Very, very, very
Yeah,
informative.
you know, each office, constable office operate, they all independently. We're part of the county, but everybody's independent. So what precinct 4 may do, I may not do, or vice versa, or precinct 2. So they have their own set of policies they act with. And like our office, we do a lot more than civil. Like I kind of touched on earlier, we help ARP if they need it, Troop, Smith County. We do a lot of help with the county because they can't be everywhere at one time.
Right.
So as far as the constable's office, it's the constable dictates what their office does.
Okay. How many are working in your office? How many employees?
In my office, there's 3 full-time guys, including myself. And then I have 2 part-time deputies.
Oh,
And one of those part-time guys, he only does the court. He doesn't do any civil process, or he doesn't do any of the traffic enforcement duties. He just does court for me only, but he's part-time. He's a retired law enforcement guy. It's what he likes to do. And it frees us up. You know, most other offices have 4 full-time guys working for them.
wow.
But we don't. I try to manage the county's monies as much as I can. So it's just me and 2 full-time deputies. And then I have a part-time deputy that helps us out in the late evenings to do some processes when we can't get to them. So,
Okay. So the basic hours are, 8 to 5, or there's like shift work kind of thing too?
no, it's not really shift. We kind of stagger. My chief deputy, he comes in at 5 in the morning, and he'll answer any voicemails that came in that late afternoon, or he'll get civil processes ready for the next day.
Okay.
And then I'll come in. I usually start my day around 6:30. And then my other deputy, he comes in around 8:30. And we just kind of stagger throughout the day.
Okay.
A lot of these processes, you can't catch the people early in the morning. You have to catch them throughout the day or late in the afternoons.
Right.
So we don't really come in and punch a clock at 8 and then go home at 5. We just kind of, we stagger the hours. So somebody's out most every evening until about 10 o'clock is what I've tried to do.
And you mentioned that your area is dense with people. It's not necessarily the biggest geographically, but it's dense. And I know the southern area is growing. So how do you see things maybe changing in the next 5 to 10 years? And what will those changes mean for your office?
The amount of residential rental properties that's growing in the southeast part of the county is what I'm responsible for, is tremendous. Just going through Tyler, outskirts through Chapel Hill area is the biggest growth. White House is exploding right now.
Oh, yeah.
But, I look for the growth to probably increase in housing by 30% in next year. So that's going to increase our work in the office. Rental properties is a huge, huge thing right now. So there's big developers coming in out of California buying up land, and that's all they're doing is building rental properties. That's their sole focus down here.
Really? Okay. Rental properties. Okay.
It's a huge business right now.
So you might have to have more staff at some point.
I think eventually you're going to have to. I've tried not to, but the problem is the 2 older guys I got, they're all veterans, so they get plenty of vacation time. And so that's really starting to put a strain on the 3 of us, working vacations, doctor's appointments. So it's getting more difficult now with the workload.
Okay. Wow.
I think next year I'm probably going to have to ask for another deputy. Whether or not they'll give it to me or not, I don't know, but I'm probably going to have to ask for one. So,
Yeah, sounds like it. Sounds like it.
yeah, it gets busy sometimes, and some days it's moderate, and some days are heavy. But you just have to.
Flexibility is a requirement for
It's-
sure.
But at the end of each month, it averages probably 115 papers a month that we're on an average is what comes through this office consistently. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been, again, very, very informative. I'm hopeful that, again, as a community views the recording, that they will have a different, appreciation for the work that you do in taking care of the citizens of the community in which you are serving. And
yeah, and we do the best we can. I meant to mention this earlier. We do, to some of the funeral homes in the area, if we have time, we'll do their funeral processions. We'll help them, but sometimes we don't have enough manpower to do it all the time. But when they come through our part of the area, or we'll pick them up in Tyler and escort them a little bit further south. So there's other things that we do that doesn't go unnoticed rather.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know. So that's just one of them.
Well, that's important information for people to know in that respect, because again, very necessary work. And the fact that
I mean, there's and it's on our website too, that we do what we call CIPs, or check-in passing. If like a family goes on vacation, they can request a form, or they can print it off or email it to me, and we'll go by their residence and just check to see if there's anything unusual while they're out of town. They'll list what cars should be in the driveway or what lights should be on.
Okay.
And as time permits, we'll drive by and just check that residence for them while we're out working, and make sure that some unknown car is not there. Or if they don't mind, we'll walk around the premises. Most people have